you would try to test me, yo. You should listen to the lesson, though. Masterminds out of Mexico, I invested though when I let it grow. Regiments I got a pocket for. Raise your income and your taxes low. Spend it right and then invest some more. And if you don't believe me, ask my doctor down. What you mean? You mean Uncle G? Planting seeds for these money trees. Who got my money, please? Everywhere you wanna be like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. I bought the bank and I bought the checks. I buy apartments, I send checks. Yo, billionaire went undercover, help y'all discover who did it best. Just bought 2 choppers, can't wait till you see the face.
Hey guys, welcome.
When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you're getting cash flow. When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you're getting cash flow.
Yeah, and only then do I buy something stupid. How stupid can you go? You can go as stupid as your cash flow.
You know what heals all ills, deals.
How is everybody doing today? Let me know in the chat.
It's eat what you kill when you're in the field. In the pipeline overflowing, I don't drip or spill. We don't seek balance, nah, we want extraordinary. If you really knew my dreams, they'd be more than scary. We got more to spare, ain't no shortage, baby. Winning by the chopper and another for my lady. Talking about the bird in the strap, say the word and she handle that. Fully loaded, put it at the target and you know we let it off every man. Got my money, who got my back? You can never get it if you never ask. Big bags, legendary swag. Only one thing better than cash. When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you're getting cash flow. When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you're getting cash flow. When I walk through, no I won't do, no I won't do, no I'm talking to, not to, you don't about to do, what? Walk in that door.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and get started, and more people will come on in. Jerry, do you want to go ahead and take over the screen?
All right, we'll do that.
Hey guys, if you don't mind turning your cameras on so we can see your beautiful faces today, that would be great.
All right, you can see my screen now.
Yes, I can.
Great. All right, good to see everybody on here. I see there's a lot of new names that I do not know. So if this is your first Freedom Chasers Zoom or your first time with us here on the Financing Zoom, let us know in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if it's your first time. This will be a good one here tonight. And it's actually, we usually do a topic in the financing realm, but we have some special guests on here tonight, and I look forward to introducing them here in just a few minutes.
Yep. I'll go ahead and start.
Okay, go ahead.
So hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Multifamily Freedom Chasers Financing Zoom. My name is Shelly Miles, and I am a commercial mortgage broker and a co-founder of our brokerage company called Adventure Commercial Capital, together with Mr. Jerry Miles over there. Go ahead and wave at them, which most of you guys already know. I am super, super excited tonight because we have special guests, Chris and Marciela. Go ahead and give a wave, guys, who are founders of Up Plex Multifamily Investment. We will be bringing them on up here shortly. And if you're new, like Jerry said, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat so we can recognize you. And thank you all for being here. So what our company does is we connect real estate investors to lenders. Real estate investors that want to buy multifamily, fix and flip, storage units, hotels, any business that has real estate attached to it. We can connect you to a lender, because each investor is unique and each deal is unique, and we have the skills to connect you to the right lender. We are like a one-stop shop. Also, I wanted to remind all of you guys, and for all of you who are new, we usually let you take advantage of these Zoom calls. You can put your information in the chat and connect with each other, with like-minded people. Also, throw your information in there, and JJ will be throwing our information in there so you can connect with us as well. I do ask if you can hold your questions for the Q&A sections so we can let Chris and Marcela do their topic on how to what's our topic again? How to grow your real estate portfolio in 2024. I got a blank there. But right now I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Jerry Miles. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. All right. So today's agenda, we will go through the community ecosystem. We'll do some introductions. We probably have time for 2 or 3 people to introduce themselves. We'll give you 30 seconds to tell us who you are. And we'll go over the current debt market, and then we will have our main topic with Chris and Marcela here. And at the end, we'll do some question and answer. So the Multifamily Freedom Chasers community, this is a community of education and connecting. We've got a Facebook community now, I think, of like 1,600 or 1,700 people. And we do Zoom calls from Sundays to Wednesdays every evening at 8 o'clock. Sundays we have the activation Zoom where we usually have our special guest on there. Alternating Mondays we have broker talks where Peter and Ed, they get on and actually make live broker calls and teach you how to talk to brokers, so you can find your deals. And on the alternating Mondays, we have an asset management series with BB and Iffy. Tuesdays, napkin underwriting with Will, Aldo, and Ed. And right now, it is us every other Wednesday. The multifamily foundations, I don't believe, are going to be going any longer. But these calls here, guys, totally free. We don't charge nothing for this education. And I'll tell you that we have been involved with communities where we've paid a lot of money. And I believe the education you'll get on here is actually better than some of those that we paid for in the past. So I might be biased, but and this is a good way to connect as well. But we've had people that we know that JJ, are you letting people in? Okay. We have people that we know that have connected on here and done business together on our calls. So who are the Miles? That's me and Shelly and 2 of our boys there in the picture. Riley on here as well is also one of our boys. So wave, Riley. But we are commercial mortgage brokers and co-founders of Adventure Commercial Capital. We lend on commercial real estate nationwide. We've been in this business now. We founded this company about 4 years ago. Been through some ups and downs as we've gotten going. We COVID hit about 2 months after we started, and then now we're in this little season of the interest rates have hiked. But it's some of those deals where we're not going away. I think about the movie, The Wolf on Wall Street. Not that we're anything like that guy, but at the end of the movie there where he's like, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying right here, and that's us. We're not going nowhere. We're staying here. They say over the next year, more than 50% of all the lending brokers are going to drop out of the business because of low volume. But we're here and we're going to be here. So, all right. Who are you?
Just want to take a minute and recognize some of the people on here that are new. Venecia, I'm sorry if I butcher your name. I'm trying. It's Venecia, it looks like. Welcome. Kim, Edward, Tyler, Isabel, Sharice. Welcome, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. And we have a section here where you can take 1 minute and tell us a little bit about yourself. If you want to raise your hand, and we'll bring you up. If you're new and you want to do that as well, go ahead. If you're not new, you're more than welcome to as well. It's a good way to connect with people and get known, guys.
All right. Well, you guys can ask questions later and maybe introduce yourselves then. So right here is our contact info. That you can take a picture of it. They take a picture of the QR code, and that takes you to my Hi Hello card. It'll have all my information on there. But that's my cell phone number. And I see that Michael has raised his hand.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Michael. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Well, thank you. Yeah, nice to be here. Well, thank you much for this. It's always good to learn something. Yeah, as I mentioned in the chat, yeah, I know Chris and Marciela. We met in a beautiful conference in Gran Cardone in Miami. It was already 2021 in December, so it was it 2 years ago already? Wow, time flies very fast. I'm based in South Carolina, in Anderson, near Greenville, and at the moment I focus on the single family homes. I have two single family homes, and now basically as we speak, I'm trying to acquire another one, something like a rehab fix, and use the BRRRR method, or or either flip it if the numbers do not work. I am learning multifamily. You can say I'm not, let's say, in the mood to jump on the multifamily, at least not at the moment. But I'm, let's say, in the learning mode. But if everyone needs, I can, let's say, do the foot in the door, because I think I live in quite nice area. I have 2 hours to Atlanta, 2 hours Charlotte, 2 hours Asheville, North Carolina, 2 hours Columbia, and 2 hours to Augusta, Georgia. So again, if somebody wants to make some picture or something, again, foot on the door, yeah, let me know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Good to have you here, man. Yeah. So, all right, Edward. All right, well, go ahead, Edward, and this will be the last one, and we'll get going here. Good to see you, Edward.
Hey, good to see you too. Thanks for letting me join in.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention to Michael when he said South Carolina, my ears perked up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm actually from South Carolina, but I just moved to Ohio. So just looking to meet some good people I might be able to work with here in Ohio. And I was gonna tell Michael if he's interested, I could point him in the direction of some really good people in South Carolina, there in the Midlands, though, in the Columbia area.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure to put your information in the chat, you and Michael both, and you guys can connect.
Will do.
For sure. It's good to have you here.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so there's our contact info. Moving on here, we've got the current debt market update. The Fed rate is 5.25 to 5.5, the highest federal funds rate in 22 years. If everybody here is into real estate, you guys all know interest rates have kicked up over the last started kicking up a year ago, or year and a few months ago now. It has messed a lot of things up. Here recently, some of our good news, about 4 weeks ago, we were at, the 10-year treasuries. The treasuries is what we base a lot of the multifamily rates on. In a couple weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago or so, we was almost at 5 on the 10-year treasury. 2 weeks ago, we were down at like 4.5, and now we're almost all the way down to 4. So in the last month, we've kicked down about a whole interest, a whole point of interest here. When we're looking at Freddie and Fannie debt and things like that. So that's looking good. One point on your interest rate can make a big difference when you're figuring if you're looking to refi or whatever it is you're looking to do. So, one big thing I see in the current market is that there's going to be a lot more opportunity hitting, a lot of deals coming up, that people are just needing to sell. And so when they're needing to sell, this means that we're going to get chances to buy things, and hopefully buy them at a discount. There's so many things that we could go into on why this is happening. The reasons that people are needing to sell is, they're coming up to the end of their term on their loan. The loan's going to be adjustable. A lot of them have bought, within the last 2 or 3 years, probably bought on a bridge loan of some kind, and they're, needing to refi out of that, because they were under a 1 or 2 year loan term. The bridge and hard money lenders are going to start getting more pushy, as far as getting people out of these loans, because they want to recycle that money. They might have lent this money out at 7, 8, 9% 2 years ago, and now they're looking, hey, we can lend this same money out at 10, 11, and 12%. We need to get out of these loans and recycle this money. And so that's just kind of some of the things they're going to be hitting the market. They're going to be pushing people out of these properties because they want to recycle money. People are going to be pushed out because the properties aren't cash flowing. As interest rates have kicked up, in a lot of places, insurance has gone up as well, and taxes have gone up. Everything's going up, and rent at this point is kind of leveling out. So it's kind of putting a pinch on a lot of owners right now, and a lot of people that are going to be needing to sell now or lose it later. So is where a lot of people are. So, but that's the current debt market update. I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you Chris and Marciela. I met Chris and Marciela about a year and a half ago at it was a real estate event there at Grant Cardone's office there in Miami. And actually the first one I was there at, Grant had you guys stand up and tell a little bit about your story, because you'd been kicking butt, back a year and a half ago, and he wanted you guys to get up and tell about all the properties you had bought and all that kind of stuff. And so I remembered you from then, and then we've had a chance to talk several times since then. But Chris and Marcella are great people, great to talk to, just real good, down to earth, genuine people. So they've, looking through your guys, all the different types of property and things that you've got under your belt, and different asset classes that you're investing in and all that. I could sit and list them all. But I'm going to let you guys talk about it. If you guys want to start out by telling us a little bit about how you got to where you're at, who you are, and just give us a little brief history on yourselves, and I'll just let you guys kind of have the floor if you'd like.
Yeah, can we give Chris and Marcella a warm welcome by putting some fires in the chat and welcoming them, please? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So good to be here. And I just want to give a shout out to we have a clubhouse session right now, and we have that for every Wednesday, same hour. So that's why one of the things that has been stopping us from coming here, but probably all of them are here now because we share the link. So I see very familiar names. So thank you for being here. You're just you're amazing. So thank you for being here. But I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'll continue, and you can start if you want
to.
Okay.
So we are Chris and Maricela. We are Up Plex, and A little bit about us. I am a retired Navy veteran, 26 and a half years, worked in the medical field as a nurse. And in the last 4 years of being active duty, we met and started investing together in real estate. And so we grew our portfolio as I was getting ready to retire. She was also in the military. I'll let her tell a little more of her story on it. But both of us had been in real estate for several years before, where we just kind of picked something up and didn't really do a whole lot of extra. It wasn't until we were intentional in what we wanted. We knew our targets, we knew what we wanted to do, but we were intentional in our actions that we really became successful. And so here we are. I retired September of 2020, and we had 35 apartments. Today, we are in over 1,900 apartments as general partners. We also have 4 mobile home parks now and 2 self-storage. We carry 7 mortgage notes as well. And all of that is to diversify our income as well as diversify the wealth generation that we'll talk about a little bit here as we get going. But 2 granddaughters, 3 kids, 3 daughters, stationed. That's my military side coming out. They live in different parts of the country.
The grandbabies are stationed.
So Florida, Maryland, and Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the moment. So we do a good bit of travel. Please let us know where you guys are located in the chat. We'll try to grab a screenshot at the end. And if we're ever coming to the area, we'd be happy to meet up with folks. We've done it, in the last 2 weeks, we've been to like 6 different cities and we've met up with people at each one. So have a great opportunity to have conversations and get to know each other on another level, which is what this business is all about.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for inviting us here. Yeah, my name is Maricela, born and raised in Mexico. And as an immigrant, we kind of connected even deeper when we went to Tobago and Trinidad Tobago to distribute some wheelchairs. And we realized that Shelly, you were from there. So that was a deeper connection. And again, this business is about finding what connects you to people. And so we're super grateful to be here. Here in this slides, I'm gonna leave it up so that you can see how we started. We started with a duplex. We went to an Up Plex. We went to a 4-plex. Then we wanted to go to an Up Plex, but it wasn't until we met Grant Cardone that he put us in a position to think bigger. And again, as I come into America in 1998, unable to speak the language and carrying my $100 savings that I had for 2 years. As you can imagine, these things were not as easy as the slide shows. And there is a lot of sweat and tear here and between. But when you are in the community and when you pay attention, you invest in yourself and your education, and you being here might think that this is free, but this is not free. This is your time invested in yourself. So make sure you're writing things down, takeaways, take screenshots. If anything, connect with somebody new here, somebody that you haven't met yet. So that is where the value comes. So I'm gonna move on to, this is a list of properties. These are syndications. The general partners, meaning that we are active in some way on the left side, and then on the other side are passive. And we started investing passively as we transitioned from small multifamily, selling our portfolio. And here in Austin, Texas, valued about 3.5. When we met Grant Cardone, we were cash flowing about 380 a year. So we were in a very comfortable position, being grandma and grandpa. We were like, we can just retire and sit in the front porch with a rocking chair, but that wasn't us. So we decided to take his advice to sell our trash that was occupying a lot of our time. And many people, when we meet and they want to transition or they want to get started, they have occupations that are, keeping their time. And for myself, I was working in the hospital 16, 20 hours a day. I work as an anesthesia provider. And as you can imagine, if I'm not taking care of my patient might do badly. So I didn't really have a lot of time. So I was very purposeful when I transition finally to read books and connect with people. But it wasn't until 2020, the defining moment, when we realized we need to, people weren't paying rents. We had our nice portfolio value add, but what can you actually liquidate to eat? That was a defining moment for us to come to the books and see what really we were doing. We like the cash flow that the real estate provides, but we were managing these units, so we were fully invested in time as well as liability. Most of the loans were in our names. We were transitioning to put those loans on the LLCs. So many of you might see it as a level of entry that is comfortable. What I invite you to think about is what do you want for yourself, and when you're looking to invest in the real estate. And I know we'll drive a little bit of that conversation that way when we go more deeper, but this is kind of where we found each other. We found in a position ourselves that we, economy was shaking, against all odds. We started selling the portfolio and came into this new business, the syndication model. And as you can tell, these are the ones on the right are passive. So we trusted somebody with our money and we learned that way. And then the others on the left side, we invited investors. At this point, we have about 900 investors actively that had trusted us with their capital, which we're very, very grateful for. And yeah, and I would say that's the real transition.
What I want to say earlier, I mentioned we had 35 apartments between us when we switched over to the syndication side. And what we found is that because we were doing it for roughly 10 years on our own independently, what we found was when we came together in a partnership, we really moved a lot faster. And that was, and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, we could do more. Oh, wait, we don't know how to do more. So we went out and got the education, like Jerry mentioned earlier about paying for education so that we could learn how to do other things and do it better. We did that, and that's how we ended up in the syndication world. We had experience, we had a background, we had people who were interested in what we were doing. We just never knew how to raise capital, or we never knew even how to find these deals, or how do we fund it? How do we do anything with it? And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But what I'll tell you is Jerry knows the way on the lending side to get you into some of these assets. So what we found was networking was key. Having a network makes all the difference in the world. And so the syndication side, multifamily side, we really focus in that direction. But we actually have some really good friends that do mobile home parks and some other ones that do self-storage. And so we were able to partner with on some of them in other assets, mobile home parks and storage. We initially started out with joint ventures, and then we moved into some syndications with the mobile home park side.
Yeah, what we like to do is when we look for another asset, we want to put our money to work. We prove the concept by being profitable with our own money, and then we invite investors if that's a good avenue. We have experienced other assets that have not been paid well, so that's why we are not longer investing in those, or we just didn't elaborate on that. So we're going to leave this slide up so that you can see the reasons why we invest. But I also want to share that this is information that we've learned through mentorship. Some of the slides that you'll see later are actually from some events that, like Shelly and sure. Jerry shared. These are events that we attend, and we paid thousands of dollars. So we are here to share, but we also want to give credit to the speakers. So a lot of that is database that you can actually find on Google. We just compile information that we thought it will be important to cover.
So why do you want to know these 7 reasons? Well, when you're talking about trying to go in and grow your business or grow your real estate portfolio, you need to know your reasons of what is it going to do for you. And not only do you want to know your reason why when you're in business, because that's a perpetuating factor that whenever you're down and out, you're feeling like you're losing out on something, or you're not getting the deal, you keep putting in offers, you need to have that strong why that pushes you forward. Well, the other side of it is, why do I want this particular asset? What portion of these reasons does it fulfill for me, right? And so we often have discussions with people that they don't realize that there's tax benefits involved, or that you can do a cost segregation and get benefits out of that on the depreciation. By taking depreciation, it'll benefit your tax burden. So different things like that. But that's we wanted to put that slide in there so people can see some of the reasons. And maybe you knew all of these, maybe you only knew 2 or 3 of them. But that's another way to grow in 2024, is to look at some of these other opportunities that are out there for you to make money in real estate.
Yeah, well, we'll probably have time to talk about diversification of your portfolio. We've done that very successfully, as I mentioned earlier, and I like to be transparent in numbers. So we were cash flowing about 380 a year from the rental duplex, houses and single families and duplex, and transitioning out of that into apartments. As many of you know, if you're invested in apartments, cash flow is not there, at least in the past year and a half, 2 years. So we have friends and partners that have $10 million and they're cash flowing $100,000 a year. So that's very rough. It's the same thing, 1.5, almost $2 million, and they're cash flowing 0. So and they're performing. However, you probably hear this story before. We're performing. However, interest rates are eating the cash flow. And we do have some case studies that we can, I don't know if we have the time today, but where we show that the cash flow is there. However, the lending and the insurance and the other expenses are taking away a lot of that cash flow. So, we disclose this because we talked about diversification in our portfolio, and we mentioned we have self-storages, mobile home parks. Those have been cash flow assets, as well as the notes. But again, the tax benefits are there for the apartments. So again, when you are talking about why do you invest and what strategy do you have, we have a lot of our investors in our database are medical professionals. So they don't need cash flow today. They want to park their money in an appreciating asset, and they want to probably set it and forget it and be passive. So you need to know your investors. You need to know yourself. What are your goals when you are coming to invest? If you're trying to leave your job, maybe, diversification might be a key. So these are some of the reasons why people don't invest,
or why they didn't invest over time,
over the years.
And you mentioned earlier somebody had $10 million into real estate, and they're only seeing about $100,000 in cash flow. Well, if you think about it, that's what's called the 1% rule. And if you're doing small things, the quadplexes, the duplexes, when you go to purchase, you want your equity. Your rent should be roughly 1% of your equity that's in the deal. And that's the 1% rule. So they're not off by much. They're just on a much bigger scale. It all comes back around in the long haul of things. Now, granted, when in 21, late 20, early 21, things look like they were going to do a lot better than they have over these last year and a half. Because of those interest rate climbs that Jerry was talking about a little bit ago. And it's impacted that cash flow today. But if you're looking down the road into 24, 25, that cash flow is going to significantly increase as the interest rates come back around to something a little bit more manageable, or really it boils down to refinancing into something that's more manageable for those. The underwriting at the time left interest rates very low, and we took off on an astronomical pace to increase those rates that nobody could have underwritten for in advance. The only way to get around it would have been to get into fixed debt early. And at the time, fixed debt was actually more costly than the floating rate debt. And that's why you have some mix and match right now. It took a little while before the Fannie Freddie areas started taking away the extra reserves that they were requiring people to have up front. They wouldn't even let you fund it later. They held onto it for a year to 18 months before they would give the money back. And I mean, we're talking $1 million, $1.5 million. So it really impacted this process. What we have on the slide right now is all of the reasons, and you said giving credit to the people who did this one. This is a Brad Sumrock slide, and it's the reasons that you hear or often heard during the time frame as to why people didn't invest. Well, last year, 2022 and in 2021, people were saying that the prices are too high. I can't find anything. People keep paying too much for the asset. And you're still hearing that today. The extra that you're hearing today is the interest rate's too high. It's not worth it. Well, guess what? If you change your price so that it makes sense, that's your offer price. You can still find deals. There are people who need to sell, like Jerry mentioned earlier. They're getting to a point that they need to sell, whether they get their equity out or not. They need to save their careers. They are trying to get as much as they can to save the equity that's in the deal for the investors. At a minimum, they would really like to sell for the same price they bought at so that they would be able to give back equity, give back the capital to the investors. But right now we're seeing that the prices, and because of the interest rates that people are seeing and paying, that sometimes that's just not happening. Sometimes they're giving it back to the bank. And I don't know about you, I would rather sell a property than give it back to the bank in a foreclosure. It has far less impact in one way, as far as your future lending and stuff like that. But it does, I will say it probably has very similar impact to the people that invested with you. Highly unlikely they're going to invest with you again in the future. So just wanted to cover a few of those things.
But I want to end this in a positive note, because in 2020, late 2020, we invested passively in one of the properties that sold this year? No, last
22 months later. Yeah.
22 months later it sold, and we make profit. And again, that was the right around COVID. And so, and just another example, we are closing today on a mobile home park and self-storage property, 286 pads, and we negotiated a $400,000 discount just for asking. So again, you need to know your seller, you need to know what's their pain point, and need to be liquid, ready to go, close, be at the closing table, and then, oh, by the way, would you mind, and they were willing to give us that. Like, there was no reason to structurally or anything. So we just made 20% discount and on the table. So
we just knew how badly they wanted out, and so we took it close to the edge and then push them, for lack of a better term.
What Cardone will tell you, impregnate him, get him pregnant, and then in third trimester, tell them, hey, but I will love that baby. However, you will have to buy diapers for the rest.
So here we go, talking about how to grow, and what's the word on the street for things. There's great deals out there. They're on sale, just like Jerry was mentioning. We talked a few minutes ago. You could potentially buy these deals for what was the original debt. So 75% of the cost it would have been a year and a half to 2 years ago. Sometimes you can find them for even less, and you can buy for less than the lender actually has in the deal, because they're, like Jerry said, they want to recycle that money, put it to work at a higher interest rate. They'll make their money. Not to mention, if it's in a floating rate debt right now, they probably made more money in the last year and a half than they even expected to make over the 5 years on the loan. And maybe you can substantiate those kind of numbers later, Jerry. But that's kind of my own speculation, is that they made more money on it than anybody thought, because those interest rates climbed so fast that it really made an impact on what their returns within their business side was. And I'll tell you, holding some mortgages, it's really nice to have somebody who is dead set on keeping a property, and they're going to make sure they make that payment. It's great cash flow coming in, regardless of what the interest rate is or whether it's floating or not. I kind of wish that we did some floating debt now. We did all fixed on ours. So anyways, pushing forward. There's always going to be a demand for multifamily housing. You just have to be cautious of the market that you're looking at. Make sure that there's rent growth, population growth. Make sure that there's job growth in the area to keep those people there. And we're going to show you a slide in a little bit about construction is another aspect that people don't think about sometimes. Oh, it's a beautiful new building. There's another beautiful new building right down the road that's getting built. Well, that's actually competition, and it's going to pull people out of your property later on. So we're going to talk for a minute about the markets and how to look at this and who to talk to I guess, mitigate the risks on some of those things. Homes are becoming less affordable as the interest rates go up. The pricing generally goes down. I know Grant will tell you, and some other people will tell you, if you can pay cash for something right now while interest rates are high, and then just pay yourself as an interest rate, as a loan against it, but pay 100% for a property, then do it. Your money's making good money by sitting in there as equity. And then when the rates come down, you can pick up a finance on it, right? And hopefully, if you're renting this thing out, you're increasing the rents, it increases the value, which then gets your full amount out rather than just the original down payment that you would have put in at 25 or 30%.
Yeah, and we're going to be showing slides to go over this information because we don't want to just read it to you, but we want to show you the statistics. So maybe we can, if you want to take a screenshot out of this and follow us along, and that way we can refer back to this slide, okay? And for those those of you that are in listen mode and you cannot see the screen, we're going to send this. No, we can share this presentation with you here if you want to share it with the audience.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the long-term 20-year return on investment. We always say real estate is not a get-rich scheme or a get-rich process. Get-rich-quick process. It is a get-rich process. So you will build wealth. You will develop more returns in the long run than you will in the short run for most stuff. I know there's people out there doing flips and things like that. And yeah, you can make a little bit of money, but really, if you held on to that thing for 5 or 10 years, it's going to make even more money. The small things that we purchased in 2017 to 2020, when the market was ripe in 21 and we sold that stuff, we tripled our money on everything that we sold. Every piece of equity that we had into that deal, we got 3x of the equity. I'm not even counting the rent that we received during the time frame that we owned it. So if you buy at the right time, it's great. You make out really well, but it's really tough to gauge the market. When is the right time to do that? The right time is yesterday. You pick up anything you want, anything you can. If you make the numbers work, that it makes sense, and you have a seller that's willing to take that price, buy it. Because in 5-10 years, when the market turns around, it's got time, you're going to be able to make out really nicely on the back end, regardless of the asset class or the size of that property.
And this slide compares the traditional market, what most people is used to investing in the 401k, and compared to the performance of the commercial real estate. As you can tell, the performance having overwhelmingly positive towards the real estate.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of the institutional target allocations of real estate. This is the kind of money that they were looking to put into different asset classes and where that money was coming from. So just kind of a generalized idea to show you the impact. All these large buyers putting money into the market. Well, a lot of that, this is kind of a projection of what was out there. And in 23, a lot of that money got set to the side. They moved to the side. They're sitting on the sidelines. Well, as soon as there's a break in this interest rate, you can bet a lot of it's going to come back in, and that's going to drive these prices back up again. I'm telling you, now is a great time to buy. You don't have to wait for the interest rates to change. You just have to get the seller's mind to change a little bit so that they're willing to work with you, show them that you can close, and you'll make a great impact, because when that money comes flooding back in, those prices are going to go up. We're going to have inflation again. It's going to be a turn that is not far around the corner that's going to happen, and you're going to be able to increase your wealth, turn around and pick up something else and do it all again.
And if you're raising capital, because many of you might be active or GPs, if you're raising capital, look at the private sector. That's to your investors that are leaving the market and putting their money to work in the real estate. That's your target. If you're raising capital for your deals, that's very, that didn't just, that percentage used to be much smaller, because traditionally most people just put their money to work in the market. we are shooting out so much information, so much education, that we are educating the public to let them realize that they don't need to be millionaires to invest in this multi-million-dollar assets. And that is one of our missions, to educate as many people, to let them know that their money can be invested in this type of assets and continue to perform so many times, at least in my case, better than what my money was doing in the market. So you can take a screenshot. If you're raising capital, go with it.
So this one's kind of a quick one, but just to give you an idea, this is the interest rates over the years since 1981. We are still at a very low interest rate, regardless of what it was a year and a half ago. We're still at a very low interest rate compared to what maybe our parents, all right, maybe my brother, no, I'm just kidding. Compared to what our parents were paying in the 80s when they purchased their homes. And it's amazing because when you factor in inflation and all that stuff, it just amazes me at the price that they actually paid for these homes and where we are today. It factors a lot of that stuff in as far as where the prices went. Business and all that, also does the same. But we can go to the next one. This one here, it's understanding your market, right? Understanding your demographics for your properties. And this is kind of a busy slide, but two things. The upper right-hand corner shows you percentage of people in certain age groups that live in rentals. And then in that middle section there's a off-color one that says marriage. It's where people are getting married at 29-ish. And then first home purchase is somewhere around 36-ish. So when you look back at the circles, now it makes more sense. 63% of people under the age of 35 are living in rentals. And we've got a huge population in that area, because this graph also shows what the population is, below that age group. So understanding who your demographic is helps you to determine some of the other things of what do you want to see on a property? What do you want to see when you're picking up an asset that maybe it doesn't have a gym, maybe it doesn't have the podcasting space or something like that, some private space where they can go to utilize, because that's what the demographic of the younger folks, they want those things, right? There's certain things that generation would like to have available to them. And if your property doesn't have it, then you're more than likely going to have the other side of the population curve, which still isn't a bad number of people. But as it showed in the circle, 39% of people in above 35 age group live in rentals. The other 60% purchase homes. So just think about who your demographic is, where they're going, and what is it that you need to cater to when you're looking to renovate or upgrade your property.
And this also brings those back to the page that I asked you to take a screenshot. If you look at the page, the concept of the home becoming less affordable. So if you look at the population at 20 to 34-year-old might not have the capital to go and buy a house. They probably are not even thinking of settling down. So the desirable, the population that is actually looking to buy a property, not even the 35 to 44 years old. So the looking at who you're serving, and also, like Chris was saying, the remodeling, what kind of amenities do we want to add? These kids, and I call them kids because they are certainly a couple years younger than me. They're gonna want the amenities. They want the community. So just looking at how you want to grow your portfolio. What is it that what your population is looking to get in? So make it attractive, and you will have no problem finding investors.
So again, we talked about going from the single family stuff and the little things to the syndication world. And here you see condos on the left-hand side. It's condos and home prices, single family home prices. And the difference in those prices year over year change has been like a 1% to 2% change. Whereas on the right-hand side, there's a home payment, the mortgage payment cost is the top line, and the rent values is the bottom line. And that difference is $1,100. So to buy a home of similar size and vintage is what we would call it, same type of year build, as your multifamily, you're talking about an $1,100 difference between the mortgage payment and your rent payment. And that's the type of stuff that lets you raise rents on those properties. That also makes it that you can't afford to buy a single family home and try to rent it out, because the rents in the apartment complexes is far lower than your single family home. Don't get me wrong, a single family duplex, yes, you can rent it. You know, somebody will eventually rent it regardless of what you put for a price. But it will take you a little longer. And when you have a complex, you have economy of scale. So one or two empty apartments doesn't hurt you the same way that a duplex having two empty units, you're on the hook for the entire bill.
And speaking of growing your portfolio, where do you grow your portfolio is important. So studying the market, seeing what market has like we talked about, the growth, economical diversification of jobs. We are blessed to live in Texas. Most of our portfolio is in Texas. We have 3 properties right in the Dallas area, 2 properties in Houston. All of our mobile home parks are in Texas. So knowing your market, and we do diversify to other markets, but we want a strong boots on the ground. We want a strong economy. But, you know, so growing it is one thing. Growing a performing portfolio is a different thing. So make sure that you're doing your analysis. And if you're new to this, and I don't know how many are new, but if you're new to this and you're trying to narrow down what market should I attack, don't do more than, I would say no more than 3. Like I would say master one market and know it like the back of your hand, you know, build your connections there, and you know, bring value to the people that are actually looking to penetrate that market.
So we talked earlier about knowing your market as far as the rents, the potentials, the things that are your competition in the area. Well, construction is also, new builds is another factor that you have to work in there. And so if you reach out to the city planner's office, that's the one that will provide you the information on what projects have been approved to be built around the city or around the town that you're looking at. You want to take a look at your comps, your comparable assets in the area, the other rentals. Even though you may be looking at an older model building, and I'll go this route first. If you're looking at like a 70s build and you have a 2000 build next to you, that is a comp, but you need to realize that you're never going to get the same rental price that they get in that newer building, much newer building. Even if they upgrade the suites, you know, the brokers will run this beautiful booklet of information, and they'll tell you that, yeah, they're right next door, they're getting $2,000 rents. Well, your 1970s product will not get a $2,000 rent if the 2000 product is. Even if you renovate it inside to be really nice, it'd be really tough to do because the amenities that were provided during that time frame of build are very different, and the technology that's available to go inside of those buildings can be very different as well. But looking at new builds, you're talking about, it comes online, it's perfectly empty, and a lot of times the builders have to do concessions to get people into the apartments to start leasing it up. And you're starting at 0 and they're trying to get to 70 or 80 as fast as possible. So they will give hundreds of dollars, and I mean, like on a $2,000 rent, they might give $500, $600, $700 off monthly for the lease just to get them in the door. That puts somebody in a rental, a brand new rental for like $1,200 a month, where your rental is 20, 30 years old or more, and you're charging $1,300 a month. Where do you think they're going to move into for the year? They're going to take that new project that they're getting a great discount on and enjoy the amenities. Next year, when the amenities are still there and the rent just went up $700, they might come see you. So you got to be cautious when you're going into an area that has a lot of building. It's exciting because there's rent growth, or excuse me, there's population growth, there's going to be job growth, but you have to be aware of what's around you and what you can afford to do with your property as you're moving into it, to make sure what we would tell you is, don't underwrite rent growth. If you've got a lot of new builds around you, don't plan on being able to increase rents because they're going to come in at or really close to trying to undercut you a little, maybe even take some people from you, because when you try to renew a lease, you're going to do a rent bump, right? A year over year rent increase. And if you try to go up $30 on a $1,400 rent and the other guy's offering $1,250 to move into the new product, they'll move. They'll move for $100 and nicer amenities, a nicer apartment, they'll move. $20, if you guys are charging the same amount, it's $20, they may not move. But you just never know. But anyways, it makes a huge difference when you know your market, and you know what's coming online. You can gauge also your exit plan, because if you're going to try to exit at the same time all this other product is coming online, you need to try to work your business plan slightly different, because you're either going to have to hold it a little longer and wait for it to stabilize in the market so that your rents can go up, or you sell it well enough in advance of the new product coming online that's going to directly impact you so that you can benefit the most out of it. Not your problem when the buyer buys it and all of a sudden rents kind of flatten. It's not your problem, but you feel a little badly, but that's up to you to do your due diligence to figure that out.
I'm gonna throw a little bit of controversy just to make sure you are still awake and with us. Have you heard about the 5% new Fannie lending rule? And people is like, oh, maybe I can start like Chris and Maricela. And people often ask us, hey, Chris and Maricela, if you had to do this over again, would you do it? Well, I'll tell you, we actually have a speaking engagement next Thursday of the month for an expert coming and talking about that. So about that, would you do it again? My answer today, with the experience that we have and the time that we have or don't, I will say yes. If you are starting and this is the inventory that you have, is you're looking at small multifamily, do it as long as you have the right business plan and as long as you are focused on what your goal is. Our goal was to continue to do the cash flow, decrease our hands-on, and continue to diversify and decrease our liability. So we talked a lot about these strategies, and the small portfolio, small inventory is still going to be there. There's money to be made there. I believe so, because we've done it. So just be mindful. Do not overpay. That's what this slide was about. There's going to be a lot of new construction showing the nicest building. So do not overpay for that other inventory. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So in the theme of this being a lender's platform, we made sure to put in something in here about loan maturities. The first column there is the stuff that's coming due in 23, 24, and then 25. You see the quantity of loan values that are out there that are coming due. If they don't have the cash flow, if they don't have the cash reserves, if the equity side, the general partners and the LPs aren't interested in putting more money into it, they have to sell these. They have to sell these products. So it's a great opportunity to build your rapport with mortgage brokers, such as Jerry and Shelley, to build your rapport with seller brokers by reaching out, getting on their lists, underwrite a few deals. It's very simple to take a look and see if a deal makes sense when you can get a somewhat of a price from the seller broker. You can work everything else. And I'm sorry that we haven't been on your platform, Jerry, to see, but if you take the NOI and subtract whatever your debt service is going to be for your purchase when you own it, and it still is a positive number, then you're able to look forward into that property, because it's going to cash flow to some extent. It will cash flow a little bit because the current NOI is able to service the debt that you're going to have. If that's the really quick underwriting that we do to decide, are we sticking with it or are we moving on? And it saves us 4 to 6 hours for each property, because that's what it takes to really underwrite one of these properties. When you're doing all the comps and checking into stuff, it takes a lot longer than you think.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a time for opportunity. We're going to be coming, like Jerry was mentioning, a lot of people that has to sell. and a lot of people that just want to sell just to get out of debt. And a lot of the lending is not even eligible for extension if they were not performing for the first 2 years. So again, a lot of factors coming into play. So if you're liquid, if you're underwriting, we actually do a lot of underwriting and have an underwriting team. We'll be happy to help you. If you're looking for deals, connect with us, because we can shorten that time and like a 24-hour period, and we'll do a consultation to go over the deal, whether it's a yes or not. We'll walk you through why not. Why is the time to walk away from this deal? So we hope to hear from some of you, but we have one more slide, and then we'll be probably answering questions if there's time. If not, we'll respect everybody's time.
And this one is the average cap rates versus the 10-year treasury. And granted, this was, I think we got this slide in July, if I remember correctly. Whoops. We got this slide in July. And basically when the 10-year treasury gets really close to your cap rates, it's as it gets closer, you're in a recession, right? You're in a recess period. And when you have that happen, it also makes it that the properties are far more affordable, I guess I'll say. You may feel like you're paying more in interest rates, but when those cap rates continue to go up further, it significantly impacts the price that the market will bear for the same product with the same NOI, net operating income. You can actually pay far less when those cap rates continue to increase. And when you buy at a high cap rate, I don't want to say you would expect, but at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, the cap rates are expected to compress again, and you will far surpass whatever expectations, because we never underwrite to a lower cap rate on exit. We always underwrite to either the same or a higher one, as if the market got worse. Not that the property did worse, but the market got worse. And if a deal works in that regard, then it makes sense to go into that property as well.
And that's one thing, if you're investing passively, ask what is the exit cap rate that they're on the road for. You always want to see that being at a higher than when you purchase it, so that even if the market corrects or something happens, that they are they're not optimistic, and they are very conservative. So that's one hint. I hope it helps. Let's see what else.
So this is the information, the QR code to reach out to us. But what I just wanted to quickly highlight and recap is how to grow your portfolio in 2024. Be intentional. Know your reasons for going into that property, right? Don't listen to the naysayers. Figure it out. See if that property makes sense for you, all right? Whatever your criteria is. And for us, we often look at what is the criteria for our investors, because the investors, without them, you're not going to be able to buy the property. So don't go looking for a property that you don't have people who would be interested in investing in it, right? Maybe we have people that come to us and say, hey, I've got this 1952 property that I think it looks like a great deal. Well, we don't buy 1952 properties, so it doesn't matter how good of a deal it is. We're just not interested in that. So, or really for us, it more than likely would be like, I've got a 30 unit that I've found. Well, we don't buy 30 units anymore. There's just too much personal time that's involved with running one of those, that starting out, it might make sense for you to do that, and then you can build your way up. But at the point that we've reached, we look for 125 units and bigger, because of the economy of scale, and it can afford on-site management. Pretty much anything over 80 can afford on-site management, but the economy of scale, we have some wiggle room if something goes on. Anyway, so we were talking about the summarizing. So your reasons for being in the property, stay away from naysayers, change the group that you hang around with. Make sure they're helping you think bigger, move faster, get involved, and they're trying to figure out, hey, how do I do this too? It makes a big difference. Know your markets, know the trends in the area of the market that you're looking for, and realize that the interest rate is just a number, just as much as the price is made up. That interest rate might be made up by the government, it's a real thing when we have to fight for it or whatever, but it is a made up number that somebody decided that's the best option today. And tomorrow they might decide that, we're going to bring that down a little bit because it's not the best option anymore. So be a little bit flexible in your stuff, but know your criteria, know your markets, know the indicators for what is going to happen during your ownership so that you can exit on the positive side.
And I'm going to add one more thing, and I'm going to ask you a question. I do not want you to answer it, especially if you have your camera on. Do you go to bed on the first date? So don't do that when you're trying to partner with somebody. Do your due diligence, ask questions, get to know that person before you marry it into a business. That's all I'm going to say. Any questions? We're going to stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Jerry, Shelley. Thanks for having us.
For sure.
Give reasonable content for your folks to be able to focus a little better going into 24.
No, this was awesome.
Cool.
I'm going to stop sharing it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, if you guys think Chris and Marcela shared a bunch of valuable information, please let them know that in the chat.
Yeah, it was awesome, y'all. I appreciate y'all being here.
Absolutely. Did you have any Q&A? I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have some Q&A. So now, I mean, you guys, I can't remember the numbers. I mean, 300 million in assets under management. And the reason that you went bigger is so you didn't have to have your hands in it as much. What are some of the things that you guys are doing on a daily basis to manage these?
So we actually have somebody with us today that has seen us behind the scenes, and we do a lot of phone calls. We are in the computer, getting into the property management software to evaluate the current trends, what's going on the property today, as well as looking over trends over the last couple of months. We get reporting for the previous month, usually about the second or third week of the following month. So we're only a week into December, so it'll be another 2 weeks or so before we see November numbers, but we can still get into the software and look and see something a little bit more recent. Our information is not that dated, but
we do, like we just finished a meeting with our investors, with our partners. We do partners meetings, we do investors updates, site visits, and sometimes we just do random visits. We do shopping to the neighbors, and we have our own team, so we also delegate a whole lot. It's definitely hands-on, however, not as heavy as we were in the multifamily.
Now we have freedom of location. We can travel, we can go do other things, and we know all the other stuff is being taken care of. When we owned 35 doors in Austin, we had a team of people who could go on site at a moment's notice, for service calls and such like that, but there wasn't anybody overseeing the portfolio itself. And it was with our own money, so we took that risk. We were doing it long distance, and it was very different because we were still connected to the phone for the emergency call, right? We were the ones taking that emergency call. Now you can get a property manager, but you're significantly impacted when you only have 5 or 10 doors, apartments. You're significantly impacted by that property management fee at that point. Whereas these properties today, property management gets all those phone calls. The only time we get a call is, hey, there's a $3,000 water leak, that we got to take care of. Obviously, we're going to take care of that. So the calls are far and few between, and it's a professional version instead of some frantic tenant giving us a holler. So that's kind of the ways our lives have changed. And we spend a lot of time talking with those partners, potential investors, current investors, answering questions about the property. So we stay up to speed on the properties that we have. We know what the financials look like each month.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know you guys, I met you in Grant's Real Estate Club, and I know recently, or I guess 6 months ago or so, that I was at an event and you guys had announced that you had done a 10-year membership in Grant's Real Estate Club. And I hear you talking here about how you have, 900 plus investors or partners. And I kind of want you guys to explain, kind of the correlation of how you can get so many people investing in your deals, and I see it personally just because I know that you've put the effort in and the money and all the things that it takes to be a part of groups like Grant Cardin's Real Estate Club, and just kind of explain to people, how important those things are, and kind of why you would make a step like that to pay ahead 10 years and join the club for 10 years and that kind of thing. So
I'll say a couple of things on Grant's Club. We already knew how to do syndications when we came in, and we'd already been part of other masterminds before we got there. And we knew the power of those masterminds. And so when he offered this, it was the first time I actually looked at her and said, we're doing this. Everything up until then on the masterminds and the getting to know other people and bring them into the fold, it was oftentimes her. But we immediately joined for 2 years because we saw the value in there. There's a network, no matter what level you're at in the syndication world or in the real estate world, there's a network of people doing different things in different areas that you are not an expert in. And one of them could be, but again, you got to spend your time to find these people and talk with them and build that relationship. As far as going for the 10-year, we weren't even up for renewal. We weren't thinking anything about it. We had another 6 months to go at another event. And the sales guy came up and jokingly mentioned it. And I was like, sure, what does it look like? And so we worked out a deal that basically we did what Grant teaches of in business. And he says, reach forward into time and pull that money forward. And what we knew is that the price of that club is going to go up at some point. And so by buying 10 years at one time, we could capture a certain price. We worked out a great deal. We're super happy. But the bigger factor of it is we had sold a property. Right after we negotiated that opportunity, we told them, hey, give us 4 months or so to pay for it. And we had a property that sold that paid that bill. So it wasn't out of our pocket, it was out of our proceeds, and we got to take the proceeds and roll it right into an expense for the business, education for us, and puts us in contact. Why would we do 10 years? Because we have seen people who went off on their own, trying to do it by themselves, and you only know what you know. If you're not around other people to provide the information like we provided tonight, that came to us from masterminds, from other people who are experts. You saw some of the markings on there from other people that we would not otherwise have access to. Jerry offers stuff here tonight, for free, but if you don't show up, you don't get that information, right? So you got to show up in the rooms. And what we found is the content and the proximity to the information is vital to your success, because if you're not talking to somebody else, you underwrite a deal at, let's say, a 4 cap right now, a 1970s property, we'll say at a 5 cap, because that was kind of where it was a little while ago. Well, if you underwrite that today at a 5 cap, it's a ridiculous price. Of course, the seller's going to take your offer. And you don't even realize that the market moved to be a 6 cap. And it could have saved you $10 to $12 million. So it's being in proximity, being around people who are in the market every day, providing us information that we don't have to go search for. We don't have to, we're in the room, we get the information. If we're lucky enough, we have an opportunity that we're able to share with other people, whether it's education like this, a phone call, a meetup, or maybe even we've already had those opportunities with people and we're able to offer an opportunity for an investment.
And I'll just add quickly that for us, it's a way to pay forward what we learn and continue to put ourselves in challenging situations with we don't know everything. And when we learn something with the intention to teach it, it puts you in a different way of listening mode. So when we go and listen to those trainings, we are actually listening so we can pass on that information. And being in those communities provides us with both opportunities to be taught and at the same time to teach others.
I'm going to add one more part is people ask us, why do you keep going back to some of these events? How many of you have ever read a book twice or 3 times and you got something different the next time, that's why we go back to those events, because you grow and mature in your process. You grow and mature in your professional venture, whatever it is, your professional career. And when you go back and you listen to that material again, you hear it differently. And just the other day on one of the webinars, somebody made comment that it was the third time they've heard something and it finally clicked. So don't be afraid when you get into these rooms to ask questions. Don't be afraid to come back or to ask for a recording if it's available, so that you can re-listen to these things, because you will pick up different information each time that you go back and listen to it.
Jerry, can I ask you, I put something in the chat that I did not ask permission. So I said, I put our contact information, but I also offered to give the electronic book of my recently published book about building your diversified cash flow and portfolio. So if that's okay with you, can I put the link in there so that if they want anyone? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, put it in there. Put it in there.
And there's a question in the chat, Michael. I will get to you in a minute. There's been a question in the chat for a while. I don't know if we can go back.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was about one of the charts that you had up. I'm going to read it and see if you can remember. Riley was asking for this chart. I think it's the first one, either the first or the second chart. He said, is the compound annual growth rate for the commercial real estate or just apartments? He said, is that 7.8% just for equity or cash flow as well? He's thinking about it from the eye of a GP versus an LP as well.
So that was the overall commercial real estate returns. So it was your overall equity return on the project.
Share this.
You can share it again if you want, but they've got.
Oh, you have yours.
So it was the first one, and it was comparing the commercial real estate versus the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 over the last 25 years has gone up roughly 6%, where real estate has averaged almost 8%, 7.8% growth in the last 23 years. And that includes 2008, where stuff dipped, 2008 to 2010, where it all dipped. We're talking about an average here. And we said earlier, it's not get rich fast, it's get rich. So you get rich over time with real estate. It's got a higher growth rate than the S&P, and scroll all the way back. Yep. That one.
This one, okay. Yep.
So that's the one right here. So if you started at the same dollar amount in 2000, this is what that $1 million would have done over the course of the next 23 years. If you had invested in the stock market, it was the lower trend. If you invested in real estate, it was the upper trend.
And this is for a passive investor. I think that was another component of the question. If you are an active or a general partner, you actually get a share of the percentage that is divided among the split that usually is 80-20. Let's just stick with 80-20. Out of the 20% of every dollar that the property cash flows, to 20 cents or 20% is shared among the GPs. So you have the opportunity as a GP to profit even more. So this doesn't take into consideration the active component of the investment.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. Hope that answered your question, Riley. And then
thank you.
Awesome.
Sure.
And someone else had asked, does that mean home prices will go down?
I think talked about the demand.
The home prices will go down if interest rates start to go up. Home prices generally go down, but that's why people when interest rates were 2%, you could afford a much bigger price tag, right? You could afford a much better home, and then as the interest rates went up, what you could afford for that monthly didn't change. It was the interest rate that went up and made it that you could pay less principal. And so your price of your home was lower that you could afford. So that carries true. That follows the trend. As interest rates go up, the cap rate on commercial real estate will generally go up. When it steadies out, it might steady for a minute. It may even dip. to the cap rate might come down just a little bit, making things a little more expensive. It all depends. And then when the interest rates go down, the cap rates compress again, which is that they come back down again. The lower the cap rate, the more expensive the property.
Awesome. Thank you. Michael, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. I have some question especially to Maricela. But first, maybe I just to add from my side regarding if somebody's asking about the price of the homes, I think the interest rate will play a role for sure, but also keep in mind that there is a shortage of the homes. I think somebody said 4 million, somebody 6 million. So there's a shortage of houses. So the prices will not go down, and once the interest rates go down, the prices will go dramatically up in my mind. But to the question,
yes.
To the question, I'm very inspired with Maricela, that I'm also an immigrant, and I may be somewhere when she was together with Chris, like 10 years ago, with just a few rentals. I was a full-time job, study and some equity, but not a lot of cash. And I fully realized that multifamily, puts you ahead. But, how would you recommend? Is it something that multifamily would be something to start, or how? Or how would you start there? Or what would you recommend? Let's say in my case, I'm sure that this is also the case of many people on the call. Thank you.
That's a good point.
Go
ahead. I guess everybody's situation is different. Let's suppose that you have a job that is a high-paying job, and I'm transparent all the way. So, in my anesthesia providing services in 2009, when I graduated, 2010 entry level for that salary for that profession was about $240,000 a year. So that was a new grad, no experience. If I knew anyone that was doing multifamily back then, I would rather go work an extra shift and get the cash flow that I probably got in a year or a month at least for a house. But I didn't know that, So now let's suppose that you don't have that kind of income, but you have the time and you want to hustle, you want to be, hands-on. You probably want to look for partners that have the money and might not have the time, and you can be the bridge. Now if you have some capital, what I will say, diversify to buy some properties, because even with the rental, if you have a couple house, they're supposed to have you two, 3 houses, and you invest in one multifamily, you trigger a lot of tax benefits that you can easily write off your income from the rentals, even if you are still having a job or developing your business, because of the depreciation that is accelerated with the syndication model. And you can, like later, and when we transition, we came to have but liquidity, and we weren't sure which syndications we wanted to invest in. So we found people that were doing actively like flips or, renovating some homes to add them to their portfolio. And we did private lending money. So diversification can keep you liquid, can keep your money working, and it can also park a little bit on the long term. So everybody is different. And seriously, anyone that is here, I'm counting how many people I'm committed to. But if you have a question, if you want to just spend some time to say, hey, this is my situation, what can you advise me? I'm opening the door or phone to connect, because again, we didn't have that. But that's what I would do if I was to start it all over again. With that salary, I'll definitely go passive and then, find my way to do general partner, couple little capital. Then I just try to do as much in these communities, learn. And guess what? Anyone here, if you took some notes, if you learned 3 things in this call, you probably know more than the average Walmart shopper or Target shopper or any shopper out there. So go and spread the word. Things that you're not the beginner. You're probably one step ahead of them, but you're that step ahead. So show that. It is through giving that you're going to attract more people. That's how we've been able to raise what $20 million in like 2.5 years. We didn't have anybody's money when we started. Like we were just using our own money. So when we started opening our conversations to invite others to learn, people got curious. So that's Michael, that's what I will say. Just, I hope that helps you. Again, everybody's different. So give us a call.
Thank you very much. It definitely helps. I think the phone call would be great if I ask for that. Thank you very much once again.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right.
And else.
Great. I appreciate you all being here once again. And we're going on an hour and a half. I don't want to keep.
You guys have time for one more question? I see Nathaniel. He has a question in the chat. I think it's a great one. If you want to go ahead and unmute Nathaniel and ask your question, that would be awesome. And you'll get known as well.
And this will be the last one we'll do.
All right, I don't want to keep you guys too long. Are you able to hear me?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. First of all, yeah, huge fans of you guys. You guys are awesome. I had kind of said on here, Chris, as you had mentioned, that you were saying, a lot of people that have, $10 million in this game and they're only cash flowing $100,000. One of Grant's non-negotiable deals that he had put into his interactive booklet from over the weekend was, cash flowing at least $2,000 a month. Now, what, like how many number of units should you be looking at after all your expenses and everything tied in there, your CapEx, everything that you should really be looking at cash flowing $2,000 a month from a property, and the same thing, like you had said with these people that, they have all this money in. What due diligence can we truly do to make sure that, we're really getting the most out of what we can, and that doesn't happen to us?
Sure. No, it's a good question. And my biggest kickback question to that would be, how much was invested to get the $2,000 a month? Or what size property was he talking about when he said cash flow $2,000 a month? When we bought a quadplex, we were happy to get $100 a door when we first purchased it, as long as it still covered the mortgage, and we cash flowed $100 a door. So we're talking $400 a month for the first couple of months while you started to increase rents. Our overall projected plan on that quadplex was to increase rents about 30% over the next year and a half. So if it was and I can tell you straight out from experience, we had something that had maybe $900 to $925 a month rents. We knew that it could go to $1,250, but it would take about a year and a half to 2 years to do that. And so we purchased it. We bumped rents a couple $100. I'll say $100 initially, and then the following year we saw that the market was going to do what it did, and we were able to take it up. And at that point, on 4 apartments, we're making $350 a month, which came to almost $1,500 a month that we were clearing, and we were doing just fine with that property. It was covering all the bills, increases in bills, whatever. So, but if you're talking about your invested dollars as a passive investor, the opportunities when they talk about an average return of 6% annual cash flow, you got to realize that that first year it might be a little bit less with when you're looking at an opportunity. And then the second year it comes a little bit higher. And then by the third year, there should be breaking well above the average that they said of 6%. So it all depends on your cash that's in the opportunity, how much you invested as to how much you're going to get out. It's going to be based off of that 6% expectation. To get $2,000 of cash flow monthly, that would be $24,000 a year. Well, we have a mobile home park that pays us $2,500 a month, and we have $125,000 in it. We have another a self-storage that we probably make about $1,000 a month off of, and we have roughly $100,000 in that. And then we have mortgage notes that we own. We've got one that pays us $2,100 a month, and we've got over $300,000 in that mortgage. So it depends on the asset class. It depends on the property. and it depends on the deal itself as to what it's going to do. And so when you work on that purchase price, when you're working on the deal and you're trying to figure it out, that's one of the X's that you're solving for, is how much cash flow do I want? Okay, let me backstep that. Cash flow is after my debt service. So here's my debt service amount. And then I got to add in my expenses. And now what do I need for revenue? Am I able to generate that? So you're going to reverse engineer it based off of what you need. Or with certain spreadsheets, you punch in all the numbers, and the only thing you have to change is that purchase price to get to the cash flow that you want, or to get to the final returns that you're looking for. So there's two main returns when you're doing syndications and investment properties: cash on cash, which is your annual payout, and then your IRR, your internal rate of return, or an AAR, average annual return. Those are not interchangeable 100%. There's a time factor of money, the price of money. So they're not completely interchangeable, but people often throw them together. But for an AAR, average annual return of 15 to 17% would be normal. And you would determine that at sale. So what that does is say, all right, we're going to make, if you held it for 5 years, that's a 75% return over the course of 5 years. It averages out to be a 15% annual return, even though your cash on cash was only 6%. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you for touching on that. And yeah, I really appreciate that. You guys are awesome.
No problem. Thank you.
You are awesome. Hey, if you are not following us yet, we'll follow you back. I put our handlers there, and we don't have anything else. Is there other questions?
Thank you for having us. We'd love to come back and talk about another subject if you want at some point. You need some.
Oh, that would be awesome. We appreciate you guys coming on here. And you guys, Marcella, I've been saying your name wrong. I'm sorry. It's Marciela. I think
Maricela.
Maricela. Okay. Maricela. I've been called many things before. But Maricela and Chris just put their information in the chat. I suggest you guys take advantage of that and jump on a Zoom call with them. That's very generous of them to do that and to come on here and share all those little nuggets that they have shared with us today. Please let them know how appreciative you are for the information they gave today. Jerry?
Thanks, guys, for being here. Sorry.
Thanks you all again. I hope everybody takes them up on that offer to reach out. That's one of the biggest things that when somebody's going into a deal is, you don't know what you're doing. You don't, maybe you've done some of the education, you've read books, you've done all that stuff, but knowing somebody like this couple here that you can call and say, hey, I've got this deal, and they can tell you, hey, is this a real deal or not? And they, if they like the deal, I'm sure they're going to hold your hand and take you right on through the deal, and that right there is priceless, to have somebody like that, that you now have connection with. So, I appreciate you guys being on here, and I'll be in Miami next weekend and see you guys there. So look forward to that.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jerry, for having us, and thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate you guys. And
I got a few more slides I'll go through here, and we'll close it out. We are commercial mortgage brokers. So if you guys have anything that you're looking at, you need help with, things that we need for a quote, T12, rent roll, OM if you have it, summary of what you plan to do with the property. An SREO and a PFS is needed eventually, but not right off the bat to get you guys a quote. And that sometimes is when you bring somebody like Chris and Maricela in, when you start having lenders ask for your SREO and your PFS, that kind of thing. So what can you do today? Start underwriting deals first of all. But personally, I would say a lot of people on here, you're not just wanting to be a passive investor, but you want to be a GP and things as well. First things first, make sure that your personal, financial stuff is in order. So your credit's in order. Start working on your own personal financial statement, SREO. Start getting your bio together. You know, this education right here that we're doing tonight can be a part of your bio. And start talking to people about raising capital or, you know, making more money and things. And one way to start making more money that you can invest in more real estate, you know, we have a referral program that we rolled out a few months ago. You know, and so we'd like to invite everybody to join our next call for the referral program. We'll be doing one in January at some point. So in the week's verse, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. That's a good one right there. You know, some of the most foolish people I know are the ones that know everything. So, but our next Zoom is December 20th. What are the top 5 factors to consider when investing in real estate? I hope to see you guys there. If we don't see everybody again, you know, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and things. But we will be having another call on the 20th, the week before Christmas there. There's our contact info once again. And thanks you all for being here. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks again, Chris and Marciela.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
See you guys next week or 2 weeks from now, I guess it is.
Yeah, see you. We'll see you guys.
The next Zoom call is on Monday at 8 p.m. And then the next one after that is on Tuesday at 8 p.m. JJ, go ahead and put the information for the Multifamily Freedom Chasers Facebook in the chat so everybody can grab it and they'll be able to get all the events updates on there. If you're on Facebook, join us, please. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great week. I will leave you with some music. Bye, guys.
When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you getting cash flow. Prove what? Getting money, never losing no. But I'm broke, but now I'm living at it. They just count my zeros and some decimals. And I wish you would try to test me, yo. You should listen to the lesson, no. Masterminds out of Mexico, I invested though when I let it grow. Regiments I got a pocket full. Raise the income and your taxes low. Spend it right and then invest some more. And if you don't believe me, ask my doctor down. What you mean? You mean Uncle G? Planting seeds for these money trees. Who got my money, please? Everywhere you wanna be like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. I bought the bank and I bought the checks. I buy apartments, I send checks. Yo, billionaire went undercover, help y'all discover who did it best. Just bought 2 choppers, can't wait till they see the face and they see what I do next. When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you getting cash flow. When I walk through the door, I'm talking cash flow. And if you know like I know, you getting cash flow.
Yeah, and only then do I buy something stupid. How stupid can you go? You can go as stupid as your cash flow.
You know what heals all ills? Deals. Look who went from meals to bills. It's eat what you kill when you're in the field.